Okay, I want to do one more example of functionizing some existing code, making it more organized, more efficient. So again, I've got some, hold on here, paste, I've got some start code. I'll put that in the description of the video again. We'll use this template, put it into our CS20 organization, functionize quiz. And this is our demo of functionizing a quiz. Okay, create the repository, and then we'll open it up with GitHub Desktop and get it onto our computer and go from there. Hopefully you're getting used to this workflow. I think last video I forgot to go back to GitHub Desktop during the video and synchronize everything, but hopefully you did that. So we open with GitHub Desktop to clone, right? And it's just nice to have a version on our computer and on GitHub, especially like if something happened, if I accidentally deleted it from my computer, it's still on GitHub and I could just reclone it again, right? And just get it right back. Okay, and again, let's just double check here. Yeah, fake student, that's nice. All right, let's open in Visual Studio Code. And again, this program works already. We're just going to try to make it better. Okay, it's a random quiz. Just has some questions here. It's multiple choice. This is the Canada flag. We don't have a cardinal in chess. I'm not going to listen. Maybe he's afraid of Lord Shen. And this is pickleball. Boom, mark quiz. It gives me some feedback. Correct, correct. Ooh, incorrect. Correct, 3 out of 4, 75%. Yay. Okay, so the code works. And the key here, again, is go to main.js. And we've got one function. Right, I get this element. Oh, I didn't do HTML variables in this one, but that's okay. We get one function here called mark quiz that does all of the work. Right, it initializes a score, it checks question 1, it checks question 2, it checks question 3, it checks question 4, it outputs the results. Okay, it's doing all the work. And we want to practice our modular programming. We want to say, no, this shouldn't do all the work. I'm going to actually change the name of this function. This function should really just be my click, my button clicked handler, right? So click btn handler. It's going to just take charge of. It's not going to mark the quiz itself. It's just going to say what happened. I clicked the button, and I'm going to be the big boss, right? I'm gonna main function when button clicked, right? And it's going to be kind of the big boss. It's going to tell other functions to do their job. Now, I think the click handler can initialize the score. That's probably a good thing for it to do. But this check question 1, check question 2, this seems very repetitive again, first of all, right? Very similar. The only difference, I think, is Q1 correct, Q2 correct, result 1, result 2. And I think otherwise correct, green, incorrect. Yeah, right. It says it's basically getting the element and saying is it checked or not, right? And the element with the Q2 correct is the one that has the correct answer, right? Do they get is the correct answer checked basically? And then we do that. So this is very repetitive. Only 2 things different: the IDs of the input element and the ID of the result element. Okay. So we're going to have a function that's going to mark these questions for us. Now that makes sense. Have a function called mark question whose job is to actually mark a question. Mark a single question. And we're going to just take, it doesn't matter, all this code is identical, so we're going to take this code and put it inside of our mark question function. But what we do need is these IDs. So I'm going to have a parameter called answer ID and result ID. And instead of using Q4 correct here, I'm going to use the answer ID to see if the element with the answer ID is checked or not. And then, of course, I want to update the right element, so I'm going to use my result ID. And if the question was correct, right, if the correct element was checked, then I update my element. Now this shouldn't say result 4 element, this should just be the result element. and the result element will be possibly result 4 if we call the function with the result 4 parameter. Okay, so I can start replacing code. I can start using this function now, right? Mark question. So let's go to question 1. And instead of doing this code, I'm going to mark question, and I want to use the answer ID Q1 correct and result 1 as the result ID. And all of this code can go bye-bye. And then mark question 2, I'm going to do the same thing, mark question. This time it's Q2 correct is the ID for the answer element, right? And then result 2. Awesome. And notice now I don't even need these comments because the function name itself is descriptive enough, right? Mark question, and I do this. So mark questions. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Q3, Q4, result 3, result 4. And we can delete, right? Q3, result 3, Q4, and result 4 down here. And bye-bye to all of that. Oh, that's so much more efficient, right? We're reusing this code. We just had to use these parameters and arguments to make sure it was safe. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to work. We can try pickleball. I think it was Tai Lung. We'll pretend a night doesn't exist, and this is USA. Uncaught reference error. Score is not defined. Okay. And this is actually one of the main reasons I wanted to do this demo, is to also talk about variable scope, the idea of local variables and global variables. Here's where I initialize my score. It is a local variable. Because it's declared let score, we've declared this variable inside of this function. That means that this variable only exists inside of this click button handler function. So when I try to update the score here, it's not doing anything because it's like, I don't know what score is, right? Score exists here. So the easy fix for this is to just make this global, right? We can just take it out here and we declare it as a global variable. We should make sure that we still want to initialize it to 0 in here. Now notice I don't use the let. We declare the variable globally, and then I just access that global variable and initialize it to 0, because every time I mark the quiz, I want to reset it to 0, and then I can update that. So now that it's a global variable, I can access that variable in both of the functions, and this should fix it. Pickleball, yeah, 1 out of 4, 25%, no errors. Okay, so it works. But this isn't the best solution. And I know when I was learning how to program, I was like, why aren't global variables the best solution? They're so easy. But they're not the best solution because in larger programs, you can run into problems. It has to do with like dependency. These functions depend on this global variable. And if multiple functions are accessing this variable, it could cause side effects and make it harder for you to figure out where the problem is. You always want to try to make a variable be the smallest scope possible. And then each kind of unit is self-contained. It doesn't rely on anything else. And it just makes it better code. So we're going to modify this function a little bit so that we can have it as a global variable. I'm going to hit undo, actually. Let's undo. Bring that back here. Okay. I want to keep it as a local variable to this function. But this means I can't access it here. What I can do instead is I'm going to return 1 if they get the question correct. If they get it wrong, I return 0. So basically, return number of points earned, or the grade value earned. So they either get 1 point for the question or 0 points. Now that this function returns a point, what I can do here is say, well, this is going to return something. Each of these functions is going to return something. I'm just going to add what it returns to my score variable. So I can go score plus equals whatever this returns. So if I get it right, this will return 1. So I'm going to add 1 to it. But if I get it wrong, I just add 0, and it doesn't change the score. Score plus equals, like so. I really should have copied and pasted, but typing is fun. Okay, so now it's a local variable, but I'm not accessing it in here. I'm just returning and changing the local variable based on what this returns. Okay, and this is a more, they're less dependent on each other, right? It's a more modular way to do it. And it should still work. And it still works. Yay, no errors. Okay, so again, really just saying, hey, what's the job of this function? Sure, I can initialize a score, but I'm going to call other people to mark the question, right? I'm going to be a big boss that tells other functions to do their job, break it up into modules. In fact, this too, displaying the quiz results, this could easily be a function. Let's do it. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'll say display results, and I'll pass in the score, because it's going to need the score. Function display results. We'll take in the score parameter here. I'm actually going to rename this final score just to make it really aware that this score variable is a local variable here. This is a parameter. They're actually different. I can give them the same name, but they are technically different variables. And then inside of here, we're going to use our final score to calculate the percentage, and then we output the final score and the percent. Okay, so again, just making sure that this function is not doing all the work. It's going to tell other functions to do their jobs. And hopefully that still works. Yay! Yeah, looks good. Okay, so just get into that idea, right? Modular programming, break up your code into logical functions that do kind of one task, right? A function to display, a function to mark the questions, and a function to kind of process the event and tell the other functions to do their job. Right? It's like the contractor that's hiring out other people to accomplish different things. All right, hope that made sense. You'll do similar types of things in your assignments. Yeah, ask me for help if you need it. All right, take care.